Hello guys and welcome back to my channel, or basically welcome back from me as well. I've had quite the break in between, and today I want to present my competitive budget Abyss Actor deck profile. And for the people that already are like, oh my god, like he's running weird cards, who needs that, we love pure Abyss Actors, listen to me a second, just a tiny second. I am the last person that would stop you from playing pure Abyss Actors. I am not a meta person. I'm not the most competitive person either, but I kind of want my decks to work out, and I'm kind of thinking about taking this to nationals, maybe even possible. I mean, I won't win with this a lot, but I'm just saying this is quite the good version of Abyss Actors. So maybe listen to the end of my video and then judge me and then spam the comments with hate stuff. Jokes. I can take some hits to myself, but I think the deck's actually pretty good. Obviously, you can fine tune this in a lot of scenarios and so on. But other than that, let's start right off with first card, only one Abyss Actor Evil Heal. Back in the days, I like to run multiple of this card, but since you're not playing or only relying on Wild Hope in your scale anymore, this card comes up less and less and less, because mainly you'll only be able to have a scale up to 8 nowadays. So getting this card out mainly requires you to run Wild Hope. You don't even have to run him, but being able to recycle your Abyss scripts and also like reduce your opponent's attack monsters attack points if they don't get a board established, that can come up quite a lot with this deck. This is quite a neat one to OTK. Triple superstars, so you can search your Abyss scripts. Setting them is a big play in this deck nowadays, so you really want them either to use it or to pop it. So superstar at 3 is definitely a must-have in this deck, as well as Mellow Madonna, one of the best new support cards. I really love this card. This card enables the deck so much. It makes you have plays outside of Electromite as well. Like, this deck can really perform even if you can't go into Electromite, which this card kind of like does make you not being able to go into Electromite. Obviously, can use the effect after Electromite, so that's not a bad thing, because you can plus actually a lot of Electromite combo plus Wild Hope, for example. Plus the deck actually makes Electromite pretty well without any outside help, because you have Curtain Raiser as well as extras. So getting Electromite out is not necessarily much of a problem, but this deck works pretty well without it, and this is what I like so much about this deck, being able to like special summon monsters from your deck and so on. Next card is Sasuke, protecting your scales a little bit, protecting your, in general, the Abyss Actor monsters. Being able to maybe pop a card if it's like a level 4 lower monster. When does that really come up? Like, there's barely a deck where you can where your opponent plays with like level 4 low mods. You can maybe get rid of one of the prank kits that your opponent has or something like that. I don't know, but I'll dodge out of that somehow anyway. So this is mainly protection, a low scale, and technically stall as well. Like, you can stall with this card a little bit, or get even resources if your opponent gets rid of it. So this has quite some uses in the deck. Wild Hope, basically the superstar, if I might say, of the deck back in the days. Nowadays, he's more of an understudy, I feel, but actually, quitting the joking, he is actually not as good as before anymore. Obviously, his bumping up the scale effect still can be quite neat, plus the searching is very good, especially in combination with Electromite. But mainly, the card you want to search most of the time is Mellow Madonna. What you search with Madonna then can be most of the time Wild Hope, but yeah, Mellow Madonna kind of stole the show from that little guy. Next up, the one Leading Lady. Leading Lady helps you to like get cards to maybe get like some spell trap card removal, because you can ram her into monsters and then get to your Abyss scripts. You can help OTK. It's a low scale on another Abyss Actor name in the deck. So this I like to run her. You don't have to. You can run any other cards for her. You could maybe go for like some Supreme King shenanigans or whatever, but I don't feel like this deck really needs it, because it's not a go first, but it's a go second deck. So I feel like the Leading Lady comes in handy most of the time. Curtain Raiser is your Electromite, also your Outer Nature Beast. So this is quite important in spell focused decks, since all Pendulum decks somewhat are forced to be spell focused, I think. Making Electromite with that. Also, this card gives you access to Black Rose Dragon with your hand traps, for example. So this card really comes in clutch a lot of the time. Abyss Actor Comic Relief is a neat card. It's really like can be a heavy play starter with the new effect. So what you want to do basically is you want to have one comic relief in your pendulum zone, one comic relief on the field, so you can swap. It helps you break your opponent's boards a little bit, but because even if you don't have one on the field, you can still switch your monsters, which if you give them a wild hope, for example, and you pop it in or destroy by battle, whatever, you still get a surge off and so on. You can yoink your opponent's strong monsters once they already used the negate, so you have a negate for next turn maybe, and so on. You can really do a lot with it. Plus, if you use the effect, you instantly get an Abyss Actor to the extra deck, which helps setting off the cards. Obviously, if you switch him over to your opponent's field by his own effect or in general, then he can pop one of your Abyss scripts, which can be super nice and give you like a super advantage. And if you get this off, the game can be over quite quickly, I would say. Abyss Actor extras. It's another card that you can use to go into Electromite, but mainly you want to search Mellow Madonna with this because she's just a play starter and so on, so you can actually do like quite a lot. Plus, Mellow Madonna actually helps you recycle this card because you can pendulum summon level 1 monsters. Ooh, something that has not been there for that long, but with Supreme King Gate 0, you know, that happened before. And now we're coming to the, I don't want to call it spice because I feel like this is basically what deck building needs these days. Some kind of disruption or some kind of way that makes you being able to even play the game when you go second. And since this deck, if you don't really need Electromite, don't want to go for Electromite, doesn't really need their normal summon, so you can actually really use Winged Dragon of Ra in this deck, like this view mode, because you can just break boards so easily with this. And it's so neat most of the time. If you feel like you want to go for more of an Electromite focused thing, then go for Kaijus, go for any other hand traps that you have that you can afford. But since this card even get a reprint, it's fairly cheap to grab, and I really felt like it could be quite neat to have in the deck. But Kaijus obviously do somewhat of the same job. You always want to see what you have, who you're playing against, and so on. This is a side deckable card anyways. Double Ash Blossom, don't really want to clog your hand out with triple Ash Blossom since it's once per turn. Usually, yeah, you kind of want to max out on it, but since you're running that many of it, it can really hurt the deck if you start with like too many of those cards. I mean, most decks break once they start with 3 or 4 hand traps. I guess like Blue Eyes come to mind, Brick Eyes, but in general, you kind of want to keep it down so you actually maximize out on your hand traps. So you maybe could cut sphere mode and play one Kaiju, for example, or so on. Because if you actually start with a lot of them in your hand, you actually want to at least be able to use all of them so your opponent really doesn't get anything done as well. And you can just grind out the game. And if you get into Mellow Madonna and stuff, then you actually are what you want to be. Triple Effect Veil, it's the cheaper Impermanence. Impermanence is, in my opinion, a tiny bit better because Caught by the Grave doesn't stop it, and you can use it during your turn, which is another Auto-Nature Beast. So if you have access to it, do it. But obviously in a budget deck profile, Impermanence should possibly not include unless you use fake cards. Abyss Script Rise of the Abyss King, you can use 2, but I feel like I kind of wanted to put some Abyss scripts in the deck so you actually can hard draw them a little bit because you can't always rely on having Superstar in your hand or being able to special summon him. So if you use the Comic Relief combo, you at least have an Abyss script set. So running in total like 7 Abyss scripts plus the 3 possible Abyss scripts of Superstar plus the search and stuff, you should be mainly able to use the effect if you have double Comic Relief to at least have 1 Abyss script set. Obviously, this is a pretty good pop. Your opponent can't react to it if you have a level 7 or a higher monster on your field, which is pretty neat because you got the new Mellow Madonna as well, being level 7 or higher, pretty neat. And also, if you use an Abyss script, she can special summon level 4 lower monster from your deck, like Abyss Actor, obviously, and that helps you get into Comic Relief as well. So if you ever have like 2 Abyss scripts, possibly, also a chance to do that. So just saying, you actually have quite some combos. You will barely use the getting life points back. Can be quite neat sometimes, especially if you're going into time, for example, having those plus 500 and with the next card, the minus 500 with Wavering Eyes. It's a card that I didn't think I would ever be playing in Abyss Actors because back in the days, the only good thing you could do with it is get like a pop of Wild Hope. But nowadays, you actually have a card that you want to have. With Mellow Madonna, this deck actually has like a card you want to be able to search, and since you can search any Pendulum card, plus if you happen to have Wild Hope in your hand, this can be super neat. Plus it's chainable to like if your opponent negates your scales or whatever, you can at least get more searches off possibly, or in general, like you don't have to run the card, but I think it can come up very much. Plus the minus 500 life points can be quite neat in the later stages of the game as well if it goes through time. I ran double Abyss Tainment because, well, filling up your board with any kind of monsters from your deck basically leads to easy OTKs, so that is pretty neat in general. And now talking about the extra deck, which is optional. All those cards are basically optional, but Electromite, I guess, because you don't need your extra deck. A lot of cards restrict you from going into cards that are not Abyss Electors, so you'll not use it that much anyway. And even if it's mainly to push for game or build something up, if you really have a bad first turn, you can only make a rank 4 or whatever, that's what it's for. You have, obviously, there are 2 rank 7s because you have 2 level 7 monsters in the deck. Like 6, but you know what I mean. And Utopia, if you want to push for game, you could run the Utopia double and maybe side in the card that needs to really OTK if you see like your opponent doesn't have that strong of a board, but mainly the Lightning is good enough. Tornado Dragon to get rid of spell trap cards, Baguska to stall if you have a really bad first turn. If you have to really clear your opponent's boards and it's like getting into a grind game and stuff, Exeter Knight can be quite neat, especially against decks that regenerate a lot of resources, but not necessarily like helpful resources that could negate him or could like be a problem, but they just happen to have a lot of cards. Like there's decks that just have a lot of cards but don't do anything with it, so it could be quite nice. Zephyr Metaltron, just if you really want to have more zones, and in the long run you actually can get more stuff out of your extra deck then, talking about Pendulum Summoning and so on. Decode Talker, just a good link 3 in general. The Nightmares, if you really want to get rid of stuff, but discarding kind of hurts Pendulum decks, so most of the time you maybe don't want to. And one Landfill Incus if your Electromite is already gone and you need more link markers. This is basically my deck profile. I don't run Abyss Playhouse because going second, I felt like it was not that good. It was mainly bricky. You can barely ever use the surge effect because it's such a high requirement. You need such a setup. If you didn't have to have an Abyss Actor monster on your field, I would maybe say like, okay, fair enough, but all in all, you have to play a deck that someone plays around this card to actually utilize it, and this is not it. That's what I'm telling you. Overall, this deck will probably cost you something between 30 and 50, 60 bucks worth, depending on what hand traps you go for and stuff. The core of the deck is really cheap, and you just use whatever extra deck cards you already have, so like you don't have to pick up that much. The most expensive card in the deck, I would say, is Ash Blossom if you go for that one. Otherwise, I think every Abyss Actor should be beneath $1 euro wherever you're from. I don't think they're that expensive. Mellow Madonna was, I think, at the start at like 1 or 2, but I think even that calmed down pretty quickly, so nothing should be too pricey in this deck. Wavering Ice is nothing, and let's just get some test hands in, shall we? Alright, for that we'll just click shuffle and we'll see what happens. This is a pretty neat hand. You can get the combo with Comic Relief off. Sadly, you didn't draw into any hand trap, so you'll find it will probably be quite hard to get rid of your opponent, but you have Electromite plays, technically speaking. You have plays with your Comic Relief, so in the end you can do stuff. If you're facing a board with 3 or 4 negates, you'll probably lose those. So this is kind of the fate of most decks, to be honest. Who really, if you don't start with any hand trap, who really has a good time going second? With this deck, with this hand, kind of sad that you do double Wavering Ice. I mean, you could use it, you could get rid of Evil Heal Surge, Mellow Madonna, and then you're pretty in a combo already. Plus having one Effect Veil, getting maybe rid of like a strong combo piece in your opponent's board can lead to you maybe actually winning this duel. This is quite this is a hard one. I mean, see, this is what I mean. You can barely play, like you can actually not play that much. You have cards, you can actually go into Mellow Madonna again. Wavering Ice kind of saves this hand because you can then special summon out Superstar from your extra deck. If you surge with Mellow Madonna, then complete your scale, get that card of your extra deck, or maybe even Evil Heal if you want to. You can break your opponent's board, which is pretty nice, so you should be nearly safely able to do your combos because you already disrupted them and break their board. So it's not as bad as it looks like, actually, because Wavering Ice puts a lot of work in here, but in general maybe not the best of all hands. This hand is definitely playable. For example, right here there's a lot of plays that you can actually do. I'll obviously not play them out right now, I'll just show what you can do. You have Electromite plays, you have plays with Superstar, Comic Relief, getting draws and stuff, or you'd probably be negated and probably don't make it as far as you want to. And one last, this is again a pretty solid hand. You have somewhat what you need. You don't have a Mellow Madonna this time, but you can do things from your hand. You have enough pendulum monsters. You might have disrupted your opponent, so you actually can play somewhat. Could be better, but it's a playable hand. You see what I mean? It actually makes this deck being able to go second against most decks. Sure, there's decks that you actually can't break and you actually have to do side deck a lot, but this is the good thing in this deck. This deck has a lot of space for side decking cards. There's a lot of decks that are built where I'm like, okay, I don't want to put any hand traps or any side decking or anything, because it just doesn't work out. You want to actually run combo extenders and not like disruption cards. But this deck can run both, and this is what I like so much about this deck. I hope I could kind of I don't know, I could kind of make you enjoy it as much as I do. And I hope you leave a like, subscribe the channel, or whatever. Do what you want to do. But I hope you have a good day. Goodbye.